All right. All right. Hello and welcome to today's video where I'm going to be talking about influencers. I'm going to be talking about how we can interact in this world of influencer culture without getting sucked into a bunch of bullshit. Basically, is the point of this video. And this is something that I actually like to write about a lot because I feel like it's it's something that's just really really important for us in this world where influencer culture kind of reigns supreme right now, and it's essentially completely unregulated, and basically anyone can say anything that they want. And as long as they can paint an attractive image and as long as they can weave an attractive story, they can sell anything that they want. And and then there's just there's so many of these people out there, and there's so much of this kind of toxic influencer culture that, in my opinion, I don't think just calling out individual influencers and trying to take them down one at a time is really an effective strategy, because they are a product of our economy. They are a product of what's happening in the world right now, and in a lot of ways I see these people not as the problem but as a symptom of the problem. So I think that the most empowering thing we can do for ourselves in this world where we are very vulnerable to marketing and to people marketing in ways that absolutely tap into our fears and tap into our desires and are really good at taking advantage of our human vulnerabilities. If we are going to protect ourselves from these things, it's it's going to come through, of course, regulations, and hopefully, enough of us getting sick of it that these people don't have the power to do these things anymore. But I think our main power is to make ourselves invulnerable to the shitty marketing, and to make ourselves invulnerable to the lies that we're being told, so that we can identify them, we can spot them, and we can not participate. I really think that the more we can kind of educate ourselves on what's happening, on why it's happening, on why we are so drawn into the influencer thing, on how influencers and just people in general sell things to us, the more we can really understand this, the more we can really see where it's coming from, the more, again, we're going to recognize it when we see it. We're going to recognize the emotional hooks. We're going to recognize how we usually get roped in. And we're going to be able to go, okay, no, that's a lie. I want to believe it, but it's not true. Okay? So again, starting from the macro, looking at this from the biggest perspective possible, we have to understand that our economic system is inherently unethical, and this is something we deeply need to understand if we're going to understand influencer culture and if we're going to understand how to protect ourselves from influencer culture. Okay? We have to understand the greater system that these things are operating within if we want to be able to understand how these things are operating and why they're operating the way that they are. Okay? So we live in a system, we live in a world where we have billionaire owners of the means of production. Okay? And this has been going on for centuries. This has been the pyramid scheme of our free world for hundreds and hundreds of years. There are people at the top who own the means of production, and by owning the means of production, they get to artificially inflate the price of their goods or artificially decrease the price of their goods, whatever works for their economic bottom line. And because they own the means of production to the things that we need, they are inherently providing for us two things. They're providing for us the things that we need, and they are providing for us jobs, right? Because what is a job? What is the point of a job? Why do we work? Why do we have jobs in society? It's because things need to get done so that human beings can survive. And in order for those things to get done, we have to work. That's the most bottom line of why we would work. To produce the things that we need in order to live and survive and thrive. Yes? So when you own the means of production, you get to say, okay, I'm in control. Basically, this is the bottom line, right? Like, I get to decide who works. I get to decide what they get paid. I get to decide how much the goods are going to cost and what people are going to have to sacrifice for these goods. And I get to decide how much of that profit I'm going to save for myself and take home at the end of the day. We live in a culture, we live in a society, we live in a capitalist structure, right? Where those at the top have pretty much always been at the top. These families, these people, pass down the wealth, pass down the ownership, generation to generation to generation. And that's, again, been how it's been for pretty much all of the Western world. And then they have decided, right, a long time ago, that this is true. Like, you can go look this up, the history of this stuff, yeah? That the original kind of like owners and conceptualizers of capitalism were recognizing that they were amassing massive sums of wealth. They were underpaying their workers, they were overinflating the prices of their goods, and saving all that profit for themselves. And they literally had an idea in their head that for them to have all that money was better than distributing it equitably, because they believed that them deciding how that money was going to get spent in society, them forming trusts, them doing charity, them deciding for the people how and where and when they should spend that money, they thought that was a virtuous thing. They thought, we are more intelligent, we are higher level beings because we are at the top of the system. Literally, because we are the owners of the means of production, they saw themselves as greater, better, more intelligent, more capable than everyone else. And they said, it's better for us to have all the money and all the power, because again, right, when you own the means of production, when you have the capacity to essentially run how governments work, and you can tip your finger on any scale you want because you have the means to the things that people need. They saw that as like, we deserve to have this power, and it's better for us to have this power. It's better for us to hoard it for ourselves and then have us decide how society is going to run, because we are more worthy of that. That's how our system got started. Okay, and then the indoctrination campaign that all of us are still under was, if you work hard enough, if you do the right things, if you pull yourself up by your bootstraps, if you sacrifice yourself enough, if you make yourself worthy to the system enough, you can raise yourself out of poverty, and maybe you can have all these luxury things, right? It's not just about coming out of poverty. It's about, there's a hope that you can become like us, the super wealthy, super rich, if you just work hard, because that's how we got here. We just worked hard. We just worked harder than everyone else. We just were better than everyone else. We provided more value. So you too can become rich or ultra rich. And in that becoming rich and ultra rich, what do you get? You get more security, you get more access, you get more freedom, you get more luxury, you get this dream life. And again, in real reality, of course, to a degree, in our economic system, having money, having wealth, having capital does make your life better. It gives you access to things that in our economic system you do not have access to when you don't have money. Okay? It does improve your life to a degree. Yes? And then they started creating, right, the luxury, the wealth, the way over the top stuff we don't actually need. and started promoting that as better, right? Like that is how we get happy. That is how we get satisfied. Because we were seeing, like in the 1940s, right? People were coming out of poverty. There was this booming middle class of people who had enough. They weren't in poverty anymore. They weren't making ends meet. They weren't struggling. And rather than being in bliss, they were all depressed and realizing that life sucked and they didn't know why. And so capitalism's answer to when we got to a place of relative security in the middle class, and rather than being happy, we got depressed, their answer was, don't worry. You can buy your happiness. Luxury, parties, go for more, try harder, be more productive in the system so that you can consume more in the system. Okay? So we have to remember that in our system, the only two solutions to all of our problems that could ever be offered are increase your productivity, do more, make yourself more valuable, work harder, work more, work longer, work better, work smarter, produce more different, better things. If you don't feel like you have enough, if you feel insecure, if you feel shitty, if you actually are struggling to make ends meet, if you actually are insecure, whatever, the solution is work harder. And now, is that because working harder is actually the solution for most of us? No. It's because when more and more people are convinced that the pain that they're experiencing in our shitty system is not because the system is shitty, but is because they need to participate in it more, the people at the top get richer. That's why productivity as a virtue exists. Because in real reality, productivity as a virtue, how much you produce, being a reflection of your value, is completely fucking ridiculous. It makes no sense in real reality. Because again, in real reality, what is the purpose of productivity? To make something we need to feel good and to have security and safety. That is the only point of productivity. Productivity in and of itself is not a virtue and has no value. Productivity is only valuable to the degree that it makes things that we need to make our lives better. So when lack of productivity is not the problem, which for most of us in this system, it is not. Most people are working full-time jobs and getting paid less than a living wage. They are not working. It's just that our society has said it is okay for us to underpay certain people, to have them work full-time jobs and not make enough money to survive, because we have it completely backwards, right? We value the system and we measure everyone by the system instead of measuring the system by how much it supports the people, which would be a logical thing to do, right? So more productivity. And then when you get burnt out, or when you get rich, or when you whatever, and you realize that didn't make you happy, right? You have all the things, you have all the luxury, you have all the wealth, you have the money, you have the friends, you have it all feels empty and it all feels like nothing. What is the capitalist solution? Consume more. No problem, right? More luxury, more wealth, more rest, more therapy, more all of these things that are all behind a paywall. So then we're just constantly in this loop of, I feel shitty because this system is inherently set up to make me feel shitty. Okay, we have to remember this. Again, the only way we get goaded into participating in the shitty system is because we are all convinced, yes, that our pain is our fault. That if we don't function well in the system, if we're not able to make ends meet, if we're not mentally healthy, if we're not emotionally healthy, if we're not physically healthy, it's because we're doing something wrong. The system is right. The system has it all figured out. The system is the gold standard for how humans should be. And if you can't measure up to that, you suck. right? And then even if you do measure up, right? You have a steady job, you have a steady house, you have a relationship, you have all these things that you're supposed to have. You still feel insecure all the time because you have to, right? Culture is constantly telling you, well, are you really thin enough? Are you really pretty enough? Are you really in the right relationship? Do you have the right things? Because trends change all the time. And are you really working the right job? And we're just like constantly being fed these messages of insecurity, either true insecurity, right? We are literally going to set up a system so that people can work full-time jobs as teachers, as nurses, as janitors, as grocery packers, and checkout people, and they are actually insecure. They do not make enough money to live a reasonable life. And we blame them. We say it's because of you. You don't offer enough to the system. Okay, well, that's fucked up. But anyways, we feel like shit. We're feeling insecure. And again, we're being told, well, the answer is do more work. Work harder. Be better. It's your fault. And then if you do have enough, you are actually secure. We're constantly being fed the message, but you're not really enough, right? Like, you're not ever really actually good enough. And even now, it's like you're not resting enough now. You're hustling too much. There's something wrong with you, that you're working too hard. If you have stress, if you have mental illness, if you have any of these things, it's something wrong with you. And don't worry, you can pay someone to help you fix it. You see? Constant, over and over and over again. Manufactured discontent, manufactured insecurity. So that we all feel like shit all the time. So that we will all keep overproducing and overconsuming. Because then they just can keep selling us, well, the solution is work harder. Okay, if the solution isn't work harder, consume more. Consume more stuff. Consume more different stuff. Work harder so you can consume more stuff. Over and over and over again. Right? And then again, the big thing, the big toxic message, being that the only reason you are in pain is because you are doing something wrong. You are failing. You are not living up to standard. And therefore, this is where we get our influencers. This is where we get our fitness influencers, our spirituality influencers, our personal growth influencers, who all come up and say, okay, yeah, here's what it is, right? If you don't feel good in our system, if you're not succeeding in our system, if you have enough but you still feel like you're not enough, no problem, right? Come to my seminar, come to my webinar, come to my self-help, self-improvement thing. Over and over and over and over again. It's the same message. Happiness is possible in our system. And happiness comes from fitting in, having enough, and working hard enough. And it preys, okay, it's preying on our childhood programming that tells us everything that I'm experiencing is because of me. That was one of our first childhood programs. Everything caregivers do, everything that is and isn't given to me, it's all because of me. It's all because of my behavior, how I'm being perceived, how I'm being good enough or not being good enough. That was our perception as children that we never grew out of. And then it gets repackaged and put in books and made into spiritual teaching. Everything is about you. Everything is happening between your ears. Everything is because of your vibration. And we think it's spiritual, but really it's just our childhood wounded psychology, that everything is because of us. And if I just perfect my behavior enough, I will be able to rescue myself from all pain and have all pleasure. And then the second program we got being, in order to get what you want, you have to fit in. Because again, in the temporary codependent relationship of our childhood, this was true. We could not provide for ourselves. We could not meet our own needs. We could not understand our own needs. We could not get our own needs met on our own. We had to be approved of by our caregivers in order to be given what we needed. We needed to be empath by them in order to be given what we needed. And so we learned the only way to survive, the only way to be happy in life is to be liked, is to be approved of, is to be part of the group. To be outcasted is to die. And of course that's right, an ancestral thing as well. Because for almost all of human history, if you got kicked out of the group, you could not survive on your own. So now we're just constantly being triggered in our childhood psychology. You feel shit because you don't fit in. That is the main thing we're told, right? You don't feel good in your body, you don't feel good in your mind, you don't feel good in your psychology, you don't feel good in your relationship. We all have that thing that we go to. It's like, it's because of my body. It's because of my face. It's because I don't fit in. It's because I'm not good enough here. It's because I'm not good enough. It's because I'm not good enough. It's because I'm not good enough. And capitalism requires that that is the thing you go to every single time you feel pain, so that you will never look at where the pain actually is coming from, and you will constantly then be able to be manipulated into buying more and producing more. Because so long as every time you feel like shit, so long as every time you feel insecure, so long as every time you don't feel good about yourself, you never go, is it because I'm being forced to work too hard? Is it because I'm constantly being told that I'm not good enough and that I should be doing more and doing better and all these things? Is it because our system is really actually inherently fucked up? Is it because we have unhealthy dynamics in our relationships and we never learned how to figure out what that was? Is it because I don't know how to listen to my body? Is it because any of these? No. It's because you don't fit in. And you don't fit in this one way. And we all have our core wound of where we thought we got just, left out. And then we work on that area of our bodies, of our minds, of our finances, of our whatever for the rest of our lives. Every single time we feel pain. Because we always think that's the problem. I don't fit in. And then the solution is something I can buy or produce. That is how we got here. We are all being fooled constantly on a daily basis that all of our pain is our fault, and if we just take enough personal responsibility, we can transcend it. Instead of saying, no, it's because the system is fucked up, and there are so many things that can be out of alignment and not well in our lives that have nothing to do with us fitting in or not fitting in, right? We are very complex individuals, and yet we're, right, continually brought back to fix yourself. Fix yourself. Just fix yourself. So then, right, the solution to everything being sold as wealth and luxury, and if you just work hard enough and do all the things, that was first kings and queens, right? We have the divine right to rule. We have the divine right. But if you're good subjects and you're noble and you're all humble and you're all these shitty Christian values that make you subservient to a system, you will be rewarded with, we don't punish you all the time. We literally don't cut your head off and throw you in jail. So that there, right? And then it started to move into like capitalism. And if you measure up to the system, if you measure up to the lords and the ladies of our land now, who are the owners of the means of production, you do the things that they want you to do, you be the things that they want you to be, you might get rewarded with being in the middle class. And you get some wealth and some luxury and some approval and all these things, and like constantly dangling in front of our face that that's the solution to all of your pain. That's the solution. Getting more wealth, getting more social value, all of these things. And if you're not having that, it's shitty for you, right? And so they dangled what? Celebrities in front of our faces, athletes, high-powered lawyers, government officials, all of these people who have all of this money. And we look at them and we think, look, they're the stars. They're the ones living the good life. They have it all. And it's like, no, they were always a manipulation tool. Celebrities, politicians, sports people, they are puppets, right? They are the people on the string that the owner of the means of production own them. And they say, okay, look, we dangled them in front of the people. See, look. You can either become like them, you can get to know them, you can be like them if you work hard enough and you become a star and all these things. Or, right, if you feel shitty in the system and things aren't working for you, just look at that. Look. Listen to music, watch the movie, sports, game, blah. Distraction. Don't think about how you actually feel. Don't think about what's going on. You will always be rewarded with entertainment and shitty, cheap food that stimulates your brain out of your body, and you can have alcohol. Look, isn't life good? Right? Over and over. The owners of the means of production, again, making billions of dollars off of these Right? Spending millions and millions of dollars on a Super Bowl when people are starving. And we think that's reasonable because we're so in pain in our stupid system. We're so overwhelmed. We all feel completely drained and disconnected from our bodies and disconnected from our relationships and everything that we have to sacrifice in order to be in this system. And then they're like, don't worry, game on the weekend. Constant game. There's game, there's movie, there's always game, there's always movie, there's always food, there's always drink. And remember, right, if you don't participate in those things, there's something wrong with you. You're weird, you're extreme, you're restrictive. Be healthy, but not too healthy. Participate, but not too much. And then again, they kept selling us hustle culture. Hustle culture is what's good about you. Hustle culture is what makes you worthy, what makes you valuable. Work harder. You want more? Work harder. You want to do better? Work harder. And then we got to this place where we're all exhausted. And now they're selling back to us, stop hustling, right? Babe, come on, no, rest culture now. But again, in order to be able to do the self-care, to do the therapy, to do all the things we're supposed to be doing now to be fitting into culture, what do you have to have? Time and money. You have to still be rich. You can't just self-care, right? People aren't hustling because that's like a natural thing to do and we're all just burning ourselves out because we want to. We did it because we had to. We did it because we were told it was the only way. We did it because it was the only way to fit in. We did it because it was the only way we knew how to find value in ourselves. And now it's just being sold back to us wolf in sheep's clothing, right? Corporations are just selling us self-care. It's, again, if they're not selling us production, they're selling us consumption. It's the same side of the coin. So anyways, they use celebrities, all that stuff. Then all of a sudden it becomes about, okay, well, we're never going to be a celebrity. We're never actually going to be like them. The lives of the ultra rich, it's not like we don't have any connection to that. In come the influencers, right? And this is where we are now, where we're living in a system where pretty much everything that's sold to us, it's sold to us via an influencer. Celebrities are becoming influencers now, right? Like we're watching these celebrities come out with their skincare line and their hair care line and their home care line. Like, and it's all like, what the fuck is going on? They have like millions of dollars. Why do they need to do this? But in order to keep themselves relevant, now they all have Instagrams and they're like showing us the behind the scenes of their lives and all this stuff because we now live in influencer culture. We now live in a culture where we're like, okay, we don't actually connect with the celebrities. We're not anymore tempted by that. We have pain. We're depressed. We're overworked. We're insecure. We don't feel good about ourselves. Now we're turning to people who seemingly look and are like us, thinking these are real people who are going to help me find real solutions. Okay, that's where the root of this is. We have our pain. This system sucks. We all feel like shit. But we've all still been indoctrinated, yes, that the solution to all of our problems is to fix ourselves. Okay, so now we have the influencer. The influencer who shows up. And this is how all influencers are going to sell to you. Okay? I'm going to lay out the exact strategy that all of them are using so that you can recognize it when you see it. The influencer, to be successful in our system, first thing you have to have, conventional attractiveness. Okay? But not celebrity. Not celebrity attractiveness. You don't want to be perfect. The really successful influencer is just 1 or 2 levels above the average person. They are what we are going to deem as the realistic, attainable goal. Okay? We're not going to look like Jennifer Lopez. We realize that, right? She has the money for all the things. We don't have that. But this influencer, she's got some cellulite. She's got some imperfections, just like me. But she's 1 or 2 levels above me. She's 1 or 2 levels above me, beauty-wise, fitness-wise, relationship status-wise, job-wise, money-wise. She's like me, but she's the aspirational version of me. The version of me I can see myself becoming if I were to do all of these self-help things properly. That's what we see in our influencer. Okay? And then our influencer comes at us with their vulnerable share. So they start off, right, being quirky and imperfect and showing you how they're just like you, but just a little bit better. That's how they get started. Okay, so we're connected now. You see yourself, I could be like them if I just tried a little harder. I realize now I'm not going to be a celebrity, that's fine. But I could be like 10% better. There's no sound? Is that everybody hearing no sound? Can you let me know? Anybody else? No sound? I'm just going to ask my husband to come on here. Okay, you can hear. Yeah, sorry. It might be yours. Maybe go out and come back in. Because, yeah, it seems like everyone else can hear. Sorry about that. Right? Okay, so we got the relatable, aspirational self that we can see. Okay. And then they come at us. Yeah. Yeah, maybe take out your headphones or come out and come back in. I think that'd be the best thing. Then they present us with the vulnerable share. Okay, this is how they get us. They come at us with the, I was struggling just like you. Here's my super relatable story. Yeah, Queen, maybe just go out and come back in, because it seems like there's sound for everybody else. Okay. I was struggling just like you. I had the same pain in my body. I had the same pain in my relationship. I was really depressed or really anxious or had some sort of problem, right? I was really struggling with my business, with my finances. And okay, good. And they come at us with this really authentic share that we look at them and we're like, whoa, that's exactly how I feel. That's exactly what I'm struggling with. They are like speaking to my soul, right? That's how we feel when we listen to these testimonials of these people, right? This deep struggle they were in. And then they come at us with, but don't worry, because I found this thing. I found this thing, this one thing, and it changed everything for me, okay? And it's pretty much always going to be a one thing. I found this one thing, and it changed everything, yeah? And now either here's my program based on the thing. Here's my product based on the thing. Here's my affiliate link based on the thing. You too can have a part of this thing that has totally radically changed my life. And I'm going to teach you how to have it. I'm going to teach you how to do it. Because again, remember, all of our pain is because of something in us that we can fix. So especially in the self-help and the spirituality world, it's always going to come down to, there was this flaw in me, this flaw in the way that I was seeing things, this flaw in the way that I was doing things, this flaw in the way that my energy was, this flaw in my mindset, this flaw in my whatever. And then I fixed it. And now I have all the things that you're supposed to have in the system, right? I found love. I found health. I found peace of mind. I found my true spirituality. I found my tribe. I found my purpose, and now I'm making millions of dollars because God wants me to be rich. And I can teach you how to do it. And it's this perfect thing, right? And then because of how social media works, they can curate an image of themselves that, again, makes it look like they are living this transcended life. Like, look at these shiny photos. Look at the kissing on the beach. Look at my health, whatever. They can make anything look like anything because we have these little things in our hands that has forced perspective that again feeds into what we so badly want to believe. The system has been telling us for our entire lives, if you measure up, if you do the right thing, if you fix yourself enough, you can have this abundant, amazing, transcended, peaceful life. And then we're all like, okay, do I get it through spirituality? Do I get it through working? Do I get it through self-help? And capitalism is like, don't care. Pick an avenue. All of them will work if you do it right. Okay? So then they sell us, look, my perfect life. And then everyone signs up for their course for $111.11. And then, in the beginning of all of these things, pretty much every time, when you start doing a thing, no matter what it is, because you are now doing something different that you believe is going to work, because you believe so much in this influencer, because you've identified with them, you've connected with them emotionally, you heard their story, you resonated with it, their thing makes perfect sense to you. Yes, of course. If I just change my thoughts, or if I just change my thing, or if I just do this marketing thing, or if I would, that's absolutely going to change my life. Of course. Okay, so then you start doing it. And literally just from that, you placebo yourself into thinking you're getting results. That's how our psychology works. You paid money, you were emotionally invested, you were physically invested, you were mentally invested. Your mind is going to look for results even when they don't exist. And sometimes we get a little bit of result, right? Sometimes whatever they're selling is a part of the solution. It's a part of what we need. Okay? And so we get a little bit of results. But then we can't stick to it. Or it's only a little bit of a result. It's not the whole solution. So it has a ceiling. It doesn't take us all the way to transcendence. Or it's garbage. It's not real. And so it doesn't actually work. All the results fall off. And what do? Do we look at them and say, oh, you lied? Or this wasn't it? Or that wasn't true? Of course not. That would be completely anti-capitalism. What we do is, I suck. I must have failed. I must have not done it right. I must have not done it enough. I did it wrong. There's something wrong with me. I am shitty. Okay. And this is usually when the influencer goes quiet for a bit. They're going to kind of disappear. We're not going to hear a lot from them for a bit. Then 3, 6, 8 months later, what happens? They come back with another big, vulnerable share. What? I was in another deep, dark depression. My health was really bad for the last couple of months. I was struggling in my relationship, and we ended up having to get a divorce. They come out with this new, deep, some shitty thing was happening in their life. But don't worry. I've found the solution. Don't worry, followers. Don't worry, friends. I have transcended. I have transcended that last thing that I just went through, that you also resonate with, right? I just came back at you with the same fucking problem I had last time. And you still have it because the thing you bought from me didn't work. But you've believed me enough and you believed it enough that you thought you were failing. So then when I disappeared and it didn't actually even work for me, you don't think about that. All you're thinking about is, oh, I failed again, and I'm struggling again, and life is hard again, and I'm in pain again, and now I'm just looking for any solution. So when they come back at you with the, I was there too, I get it. I resonate with you, right? Remember, I'm the idealized version of you. And I'm telling you that I was in that pain too. But don't worry. I found the solution. It's my new program. It's my new thing. It's my new product. And you can come join for $1,111.11. And then we join. And then we do it again. And then it kind of works. We get a little bit of result. We think we're failing. We fall off. We blame ourselves. Life gets hard. They disappear. 6 months later, they come back with the new thing. And this just happens over and over and over and over again. And we buy it every time for a couple of reasons, right? Number one, they're always selling us a solution that makes sense to our capitalist indoctrinated mind. They are always selling us get up earlier, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, work harder, commit to it, do the thing, be the man, be the woman, come on, boss babe, which makes us feel powerful, which makes us feel in control, and completely fits in alignment with what we're told in society is how we get success and love and approval and all these things that we want. So we buy that every time, even though in our actual system, that is not true. In our real actual system, there's a ceiling that most of us are never going to transcend because we can't, because of how it's set up. And in our system, a lot of the time, doing more, working more, taking more, earning more is destructive to ourselves and destructive to everyone else. But again, because we've been so indoctrinated that that's the answer, Tony Robbins is a gabillionaire, right? He sells the same fucking bullshit over and over and over again. Just empower yourself. Just get strong. Just blah, 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 blah. Which I mean, sometimes that's the answer. Sometimes we need a little bit of empowerment, whatever. But most of what he says is just capitalist, toxic bullshit that has nothing to do with reality. Or it's the spiritual teachers, right? The spiritual teachers being like, just change your mind, just level up, just get rid of your negative emotions, just change your vibration so that you're more feminine or more masculine, and then you'll attract all the things and pleasure yourself and blah, blah, blah. Right? It makes sense to our mind what they're selling us because, again, we just want to believe if I just fix myself enough, I can get all the things I want. So we believe it. They're selling us a thing that makes sense to us. Number two, they're selling us a thing that makes us feel like we're completely in control, right? Reality is happening between my ears. Everything in my life is because of me and my choices. Everything that's happening to everyone else is because of them and their choices. So if you're sick or if you're poor or if you're struggling, it's because you made bad choices, right? And that's a huge part of what keeps capitalism going, where we have no empathy for one another and we blame each other for the results of the system so that we don't consider that maybe it's because people are not actually being given a fair chance. Maybe the people at the top aren't at the top because they're just better and made better choices than everyone else, but because they were helped, because they were invested in, because they had unfair advantages, because they actually took advantage of people below them. We don't think the only reason millionaires and billionaires exist is because they exploited labor, is because they exploited the earth. That's the only way that can happen. We don't think about that. We just think, well, if you're sick or if you're mentally unwell or if you're whatever, it's because you're making bad choices. Because look, spirituality, self-help, personal growth keeps selling us, you can be perfectly perfect if you just make all the right choices. So then we believe it when the influencer says, here's the right choices to make. Here are all the right choices to make. If you're unhappy, if you're struggling, it's okay. Just make better, different choices. I'll teach you how to do it in my course. Okay? And then again, they get us because they act and look and present themselves to be our aspirational self. Us we can see ourselves being. So they're quirky and they have flaws and they show us their vulnerabilities when in real reality they're not showing us those things in real life, not at all. But we identify with them, okay? And then again, they keep selling us these deep, vulnerable shares. And for a lot of them, it is probably true. They really are suffering and hurting and feeling shitty in the ways that they weave their content around. But then the solution they sell us isn't a real solution because it never could be. Because again, we have to remember this. The influencer can never sell you a thing that would actually work. Number one, because in real reality, there's never a thing. But in our world, we are so overwhelmed, we are so overburdened, we are so in this system that tells us that solutions are a one and done thing. That solutions are a one step, one thing, you do the one thing and the one thing is going to fix you. So we are afraid, we do not want to hear things are just going to be one step at a time. That we're going to have to just take it day by day. That we're going to need a bunch of different tools to get to where we want to go. That progress is going to be slow and over time because of multiple little shifts. No one wants to hear that. So they sell us the one thing. But remember, if the one thing actually worked, they would put themselves out of business. Because in capitalism, the only way to survive is to be continually relevant. And the only way to be continually relevant is to be continually different. Right? Now you're seeing all the influencers who used to sell you hustle culture, now selling you rest culture. They're just two sides of the same coin, but it looks different. And it feels different. And that's what keeps them relevant. So then they sell you this program, they sell you this book, they sell you this product that's supposed to heal all your problems. But if that was all they ever did, they would die. You can't keep selling the same thing. You have to have a new thing. And when the way that you sell your thing is through having a shitty experience yourself and then teaching people how you transcended it, you have to keep having a shitty experience. You have to keep having a thing that doesn't actually work. You see? And then we have to just make sure that when it doesn't work for the people, they don't turn around and go, oh, you're selling me bullshit. They turn around and say, oh, I did it wrong. Even when the influencer admits that their thing didn't work, we don't look at it. We buy their next product. We buy their next product because we want to. We just want to believe that they are telling us the truth this time. That they really have transcended this time. Look at their social media feed. It's all bright and happy and shiny and sunny. Even though it was like this last time, and now they're telling me that they weren't actually happy, I'm still going to buy their new thing that they're telling me is making them happy now. All these like relationship influencers who had the relationship and then they break up and then the relationship and they break up and the relationship and they break up and we keep buying their courses. They've been in a relationship for like 5 minutes and they're relationship coaches. We buy it. Unbelievable. We have the organ guy, you know who I'm talking about? Who's selling personal responsibility. Just be a man. Do the hard thing. That's how you're going to get results in life when he's just taking steroids behind the scenes and was rich growing up. Right? Like he's literally saying the reason I got here was because of hard work. And selling that as the solution to life. Like selling that as the solution to life. Just work hard, put your head down, be a man. When in real reality, the reason he has the results that he has is by cheating. You got it. Is by cheating. And then selling shitty supplements that had nothing to do with why he is where he is. He made millions and millions and possibly billions of dollars selling a thing that isn't why he is where he is. Selling a program that isn't why he is where he is. It's because he cheated. And we still look at him and think, yeah, but the message is good. But it's not. It's not good. That's not why he got there. He got there because he cheated. Everyone in our system who is where he is cheated to get there. That is why they are there. And yet we still believe that no, like the work hard, be a good person. Bullshit. Right? Okay, so this is how the influencer gets us. They are a product of capitalism just like everyone else. I first noticed this with another influencer that I'm not going to name names, but you'll probably be able to figure it out. She's a blonde-haired, blue-eyed, conventionally attractive woman who claimed that she was, and again, I'm not coming against her claims of her history or her life. I don't know her. I'm going to believe that she's saying she used to be addicted to drugs and alcohol and that was her life. And then she claims in her first book that she found the Course in Miracles, which again, a lot of us think, wow, this spiritual profound book, until we look at our childhood programming and think, everything is because of me, everything happens between my ears, if I don't like it, it's not real. That's all that Course in Miracles is, right? It's a book of delusion, of just, if you just believe hard enough, and if you just change your mind enough, everything in life is perfect. It's complete childhood gobbledygook. But anyways, she sells that this is how she saved herself. Now she's happy, she's free, she's this motivational speaker, making millions of dollars, everything's great, because this. Then she goes away for a while. And then she comes back. Okay, Course in Miracles is fine, but now the real solution was Kundalini Yoga. Kundalini Yoga, which we now know, a complete fabrication. Yogi Bhajan was literally a drug smuggler, sexual abuser, completely making shit up on the spot. It had nothing to do with anything. But Kundalini Yoga saved my life. So now, join my course on this. Yeah? Then she disappears again. Comes back. Okay, well, I was depressed again. I was infertile. I was all these things. But don't worry. I figured it out now. It's God is on my side. I'm not going to say the name of their book. If you just align your mind, if you just align your intentions, if you just shift yourself, you're going to become abundant and you're going to get everything you want, because that's how the universe is set up. Everything is happening between your ears. God is just like Santa listening to you. And if you think all the right things and vibe all the right things, you'll have everything you want. So now she's got this course for how to do this. Then she goes away, comes back. Now she's teaching a business course. I'll teach you how to be a spiritual business person. Now she's teaching internal family systems. And every time it's this thing saved my life. It's the reason I'm amazing. Disappears. Turns out I was having a horrible, horrible time, but now this thing has saved my life. Disappears. Had another horrible, horrible time. Vulnerable share. I'm just like you. But now this is how I'm rich. This is how. And I remember just thinking, why do people keep buying shit from her? She's clearly admitting that her stuff doesn't work. And yet, we buy it every time. Why? And I just said it, right? Because we want to believe it. We want to believe it. We've been indoctrinated to believe that we are the answer to all of our problems and that all of our problems can be solved between our ears and if we just work harder or consume more things. That is what capitalism has taught us from day one. And influencers are just capitalizing on it. Influencers are just you who are more conventionally attractive, who can weave a story better than you can, and sell a product and sell a thing and sell a lifestyle, yeah, that convinces you that you're going to heal and change and fix everything about your life overnight because it's all in your hands, it's all up to you, and if you just do the right things and make the right choices, you will be transcended just like how they are. But not perfectly transcended, because remember, they're relatably transcended. And it's just the same shit over and over and over again. And then now we're literally living in a time where there's this boss babe culture where literally hundreds of conventionally attractive women have made themselves business coaches. When in real reality, none of them had a successful business. None of them had a successful business until they started teaching people that they could teach them how to have a successful business. None of them have credentials. None of them have even history of actually knowing how to market or actually knowing how to do whatever. And then they're selling that the reason they are having the success that they are having is because of some vibrational secret or some sexual practice or some polarity teaching or whatever. It's like an energetic thing. When it's no. The reason you are successful is because you are conventionally attractive and you have convinced us that you're rich. And therefore, we are willing to make you rich because we believe what you're saying. But in real reality, could they teach the person who's selling pottery on Etsy how to have a thriving business? Absolutely not. They don't know how to do it. They never did it. And the reason they are where they are is not because of their self-love practice. It's literally because they were able to paint an image of being wealthy and then saying, I can make you wealthy too. That's it. People wanted to believe it. We were vulnerable. We got sucked in. That's the only thing that's happening. And it's happening over and over and over and over again. So again, I really want you to keep your eyes peeled now. When the influencer is selling you the thing, look for what I just said. Look for them selling you a one thing that's a solution to everything. Look for them telling you that they are just like you, just a little bit aspirational. So I understand your frustration. I feel very much the same. I call it the spiritual supermarket and rigmarole. Absolutely. Right? Look for these things. Look for the vulnerable share that gets you sucked in, that makes you feel exactly like how you feel. And then they sell you the perfect solution. And then watch how they disappear, come back with a new solution. Disappear, come back with a new solution. And they don't even say the old thing is a part of it. I just realized it wasn't everything. It wasn't the whole picture. You can't actually transcend. This just made things better. Like how I sell. This was a step. This was a part on the path. You'll notice I don't have a huge following. You'll notice I'm not selling hundreds and thousands of dollars of product because I'm being honest. And honesty isn't at all attractive in our culture, where we are so frustrated and so burnt out and so tired and so overwhelmed and so overworked and trapped in a system that's shitty that we don't want to hear slow progress. We don't want to hear you can't solve everything. We don't want to hear there isn't a perfect solution. That's why we don't buy from people like me. Because we want perfection. We want the perfect thing delivered in the perfect shot, and that's it. Because that's all we have bandwidth for. And we don't want to hear some of it we don't have control over. Some of it isn't because of us. Sometimes we're just going to have to learn how to have compassion for ourselves and support ourselves the best within the shitty circumstances that we're in, because we don't have control, because not everything is happening between our ears. We don't want to hear that. We don't want to hear we need system reform, because that's big and that's scary and that's complicated. We just want to hear, no, it's my fault. There's something wrong with me and I can fix it. Right? We're vulnerable to this stuff because they're selling us what we want to hear. And they are getting rich because they are being our puppets, right? They are putting on a show for us just as much as we are asking them to put on a show. That's the cycle. You tell me what I want to hear, I'll believe it, and I'll pay you to give me that thing that I want. And you then have to sacrifice your whole life, because this is what influencers have to do. They sacrifice their life to their brand. They sacrifice themselves to put on and paint up an image so that they can sell a product. And they have to sell to us what we want to hear, not what is true. And that's how they do it. They have to sell their soul to do it in this economy. So everybody loses. But everyone thinks that money and success is the thing that's going to save us. And we're all just convincing each other that that's the truth. And that's what influencer culture really is. If you can become beautiful and rich and in a couple and successful enough, you will have everything that you want and everything that you need. That's the story we want to hear. And so we're like, you pretend that that's happening for you, and I'll keep pretending that that'll happen for me, and we'll just keep passing the money around, and that's what it is. Because the alternative is we have to admit that this solution isn't in the system. We're never going to get rich enough. We're never going to get productive enough. We're never going to get to the top of the system enough to be happy and get rid of our existential crises and heal all of our physical problems and make everything better. Being human is very vulnerable. There are lots of things we don't have solutions for. There are lots of things that, again, divesting from the system, having less, doing less, checking out so that we're not continuing to pay the people at the top is the answer. But we don't want to hear that. That's shitty. A lot of the time we got to work on our thoughts. We got to work on our self-esteem from the inside. We really do actually have to do that slow work that Oregon guy says. But it's not going to make you ultimately successful in the system. It might actually make your life better. It might actually help you feel better and do better, but it's not going to make you fit in more. It's not going to make you wildly successful. And we have to give that up if we want to actually be happy. And that's really hard to do. Because not a lot of people are showing that. Not a lot of people are showing what actual happiness looks like, right? You have enough. So we're not saying you starve or give up things that you actually need. You have enough, and then you don't take more than that. And then you work on what actually makes me happy, what actually satisfies me. And then it's like, it's probably going to be things that don't make you popular in the system. And can we accept that? Can we do that? Can we have enough confidence to not fit in? It's way more complicated. And it's steps and it's growth, like I said. It's not attractive. So I'm going to tag some people who are calling out these people on a regular basis if you want more content like this. They do really good work. But again, look at the system. Look at the whole thing. Look at how they're weaving to you that if you just become productive and consumptive enough, you will be happy. And see through it. It's not reality. That's not what reality is. It's never going to be that. That's not the truth. There's so much more to life. So much more to our systems. So much more to understanding what the human being actually needs to be happy. So much more to what community actually means. And living a community-based mindset. Right? Again, if we just understood that if we didn't have billionaires and we just made it so that everyone who worked a reasonable job got paid a reasonable living, how much less insecure we would be and how much less dependent upon these people at the top we would be, the whole system would crumble in the best way possible. And yet we're so afraid of socialism because we think it's going to mean that no one works. And it's like, no, all of these things that we do to keep society functioning would still need to be done. We would still have motivation to do them. We would still need plumbers and janitors and teachers and scientists and people who stock our... It's just they wouldn't be starving so that billionaires can be more billionaires. Right? Like this thing we're also afraid of would actually get rid of so much of our fear. Just, again, putting it up there. Okay? Influencers are a result of our culture. They are a result of our shitty system. They aren't the cause, but we do need to start divesting from their shit. And the way we do that is by seeing it, recognizing it, calling it out, not participating. Looking for real solutions, not one thing that solves your whole life. Okay. I very much appreciate your depths in these issues. You are guiding the light in the right direction. The world doesn't need more wealthy, famous people. The world needs more kind and honest people. The world needs more people who realizes that the more we all have enough, the less insecure we all are, the better everything is for everybody. That is the truth. The more innovation we will have, the more resource we will have, the more access we all have. We're losing people to this system where there's so much gatekeeping. This is what it is. And yeah, no, right? There is no perfect solution. There is no transcendence. I have gotten flack for this my entire career, 10 years on YouTube now, of you just don't get it. No, I get it. I understand why we want to believe there's transcended. There isn't a transcended, but there are lots of tools that can help us deal with these things. Like be able to have tragedy and vulnerability and be scared and all this stuff and be okay. We can have that. Actual spirituality, real spirituality that helps us deal with reality instead of check out of it. It's just slow and boring and progressive, and it's not an ayahuasca trip. Right? So just putting that out there. Okay. Thank you for coming to my talk. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. If you're here, if you're listening to this, if you resonate with this, you are a part of the solution already. The fact that you even think that this is a good thing means you're already on it. And I am so grateful that you're here and that you're living your life and you're making your choices. We're all in this together. Okay? So, that's that. I'll see you when I see you. Bye.